Dear friends and students, you are listening to the book Glimpses of World History by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Chapter 17. A famous conqueror, but a conceited young man. January 24th, 1931. In my last letter, and even before that, I have referred to Alexander the Great. I think I called him a Greek. That is not quite correct, for he was really a Macedonian. That is, he came from a country just north of Greece. The Macedonians were in many ways like the Greeks. You might call them their cousins. Philip, the father of Alexander, was king of Macedonia. He was an able king, and he made his little kingdom strong and built up a very efficient army. Alexander is called the Great, and he is very famous in history. But a great deal of what he did was made possible by the careful work of his father Philip before him. Whether Alexander was truly a great man or not is doubtful. He is certainly no hero of mine. But he succeeded in a short life in impressing his name on 2 continents. And in history, he is supposed to be the first of the world conquerors. Far away in the heart of Central Asia, he is still remembered as Sikandar. And whatever he may have been in reality, history has succeeded in attaching a glamour to his name. Scores of cities have been named after him, and many of these still exist. The greatest of these was Alexandria in Egypt. Alexander was only 20 when he became king. Full of ambition to achieve greatness, he was eager to march towards the old enemy, Persia, with the fine army his father had built for him. The Greeks did not like either Philip or Alexander, but they were cowed a little by their strength. And so they acknowledged each of them, one after the other, as captain general of all the Greek forces which were to invade Persia. Thus they bowed down to the new power that was rising. One Greek city, Thebes, rebelled against him, and he struck at it with great cruelty and violence. He destroyed this famous city, knocked down its buildings, massacred many of its people, and sold many thousands into slavery. By this barbarous behavior, he terrified Greece. But this and other instances of barbarism in his life do not make him admirable to us, and only repel and disgust us. Egypt, which was then under the Persian king, was easily conquered by Alexander, who had already defeated the Persian king Darius III, a successor of Xerxes. Later, he went again towards Persia and defeated Darius a second time. The great palace of Darius, the king of kings, was destroyed by Alexander. In revenge, he said, for the burning of Athens by Xerxes. There is an old book in the Persian language, written nearly 1,000 years ago, by a poet named Firdausi. The book is called the Shahnameh. It is a chronicle of the kings of Persia. This book describes, very fancifully, the battles between Alexander and Darius. It tells us that on being defeated, Darius sought help from India, sending a swift camel messenger to Porus, who was a king in the northwest of India. But Porus could not help him at all. He himself soon had to face the onslaught of Alexander. In this book, the Shahnameh of Firdausi, there are interesting references to Indian swords and daggers being used by the Persian king and nobles, indicating that even in Alexander's day, India was making fine steel swords that were valued in foreign countries. Alexander wandered on from Persia, through the country where Herat and Kabul and Samarkand now stand he went, and reached the upper valleys of the river Indus. Here he met the first Indian ruler who opposed him. Greek historians call him Porus, after the Greek fashion. His real name must have been similar to this, but we do not know it. It is said that Porus fought bravely, and it was not easy for Alexander to overcome him. Very chivalrous and very tall, Porus is said to have been, and Alexander was so impressed by his courage and chivalry that even after defeating him, he left him in charge of his kingdom. Though from being King Porus, he became a satrap or governor of the Greeks. Alexander entered India through the Khyber Pass in the northwest and via Taxila, which lies a little north of Rawalpindi. Even now, you can see the ruins of this ancient city. After defeating Porus, Alexander appears to have considered marching south towards the Ganges. But he did not do so, and, following the Indus Valley, he returned. It is interesting to think what might have happened if Alexander had marched towards the heart of Hindustan. Would he have continued to win? Or would the Indian armies have overcome him? A frontier king like Porus gave him sufficient trouble, and it is quite possible that the bigger kingdoms of Middle India might have been strong enough to check Alexander. But whatever Alexander may or may not have wished, his soldiers decided for him. They were tired and weary of many years of wandering. Perhaps they were impressed by the fighting qualities of the Indian soldiers and did not wish to risk defeat. Whatever the reason, the army insisted on going back, and Alexander had to agree. The return journey was, however, a disastrous one, and the army suffered from lack of food and water. Soon afterwards, in 323 BC, Alexander died at Babylon. He never saw his home country of Macedonia again after setting out on his Persian campaign. So died Alexander at the age of 33. What had this great person done during his brief career? He won some brilliant battles. He was undoubtedly a great general. But he was vain and conceited, and sometimes very cruel and violent. He thought of himself almost as a god. In fits of anger or passing whims, he killed some of his best friends and destroyed great cities along with their inhabitants. He left nothing solid behind him in his empire, not even proper roads that he had built. Like a meteor in the sky, he came and went, and left little of himself behind except a memory. His family members killed each other off after his death, and his great empire fell to pieces. He is called a world conqueror, and it is said that once he sat down and wept because there was nothing left for him to conquer. But India, except for a small part in the northwest, was still unconquered by him. And China, even then, was a great state. And Alexander went nowhere near China. On his death, his empire was divided among his generals. Egypt fell to Ptolemy, who established a strong government there and founded a dynasty. Under this government, with Alexandria as its capital, Egypt was a powerful country, and Alexandria became a great city famous for its science, philosophy, and learning. Persia and Mesopotamia and part of Asia Minor fell to another general, Seleucus. To his share also fell the part of northwestern India that Alexander had conquered. But he was unable to keep any part of India, and the Greek garrison was driven out after Alexander's death. Alexander came to India in 326 BC. His coming was just a raid and made very little difference to India. Some people think that this raid helped begin intercourse between Indians and Greeks. But, as a matter of fact, even before Alexander's day, there was a highway between East and West, and India was in continual touch with Persia and even Greece. This contact must, of course, have increased after Alexander's visit, and the two cultures, Indian and Greek, must have mixed to a greater extent. Alexander's raid and his death led, in India, to the founding of a great empire, the Mauryan Empire. This was one of the great periods in Indian history, and we must spend some time on it. Dear friends and students, you were listening to the book Glimpses of World History by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe the channel. Let's meet in the next episode.